time of the week again. Prepare yourself for the surveyors of sauce, the sultans of spaghetti, the whispers in your ears. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the What's Your Spaghetti Policy podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Alex and Jacob.
If I say that I've got the Morbs, what am I saying?
You turning into a vampire?
Yeah. Is it Morbin time? Is that what we're referring to? I guess. Yeah. I mean
Morbs.
Morbs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a new disease?
No.
I feel like kind of sorry for you at the moment. Like, it's like,
so
no.
In context, you would say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I'd be like, "Oh man, I've got the Morbs."
Bubble guts? I don't know, man.
I mean, it's like I would ask you why you're not wearing a mask. Dude. I don't know.
So it means it's a slang phrase or euphemism used in Victoria-era England. It's a phrase described as a person afflicted with a temporary melancholy or sadness.
Oh, damn. I got the Morbs all the time, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
It's like a constant state of Morbs over here, man.
You're just going to walk around and be like, I just got the Morbs today, man.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just can't shake these Morbs.
I'm on the way to the drugstore, pick up my Morbs medicine.
Yeah, I mean, they could apply. I guess it would be like antidepressant.
Yeah.
Right?
Mood stabilizer.
I'm a clinical Morb, dude.
I'm a clinical Morb. Yeah, let's bring it back.
I like
bring it back.
We need to bring back a lot of like Victorian sayings, honestly. Those were fun. Like I remember one episode we had where like there's a bunch of them and it's like, let's bring them back. History repeats itself, right?
Instead of going with the new kid slang, let's go, 400 years ago slang and just bring it back. Just make sure it's not derogatory though.
Well, that's the problem.
Yes, the problem. There's always some sort of, negative connotation to something or, anyways, it's been a hot minute since we've had a guest on. And most people don't realize that we are an international podcast. We've had Canadians, we've had Englishmen, and now we have our very first German.
Hallo, guten Tag.
Yes, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me on. It's fun.
Absolutely.
Frederick Hornung.
Yeah.
Right? Hornung.
Yeah.
I told you the English translation gets and you always have to like try you see someone's name and you're just like I don't know if I want to try that, but I think it's more respectful to actually attempt to say someone's name than to just be like it's like when you go to like a Mexican restaurant and you're just like you don't know how to say these words. Like, sure, they get a laugh out of it because you're you're dumb.
This fucking idiot over here.
Fucking gringo over here.
It's pollo, okay? It's pollo, not polo, okay?
It's not something you wear, okay? It's chicken. So, but, it's, there's a lot of arrogance that Americans have sometimes when it comes to pronunciation and languages and all sorts of things. But, I try not to be that way anyways. But Jacob, on the other hand, he's just sort of ignorant.
Hey, but I also accept the fact that I am ignorant. I'm willing to change. Hey, eventually.
Are you?
When I hit 40 years old, I'll change.
Oh, okay.
I'll start being more.
I was gonna say evidence
more
of the contrary.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is Jacob was actually born in Germany.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's so. Wow.
Yeah, it was. My parents were both in the military. I think it was like Landstuhl, Germany is where they had me. But I only think that I was there for like a couple of months, maybe. I don't know how long I was there. But I mean, as far as I remember, it's a good time, I remember almost nothing from that experience, honestly.
You don't remember much of anything, so
that's fair. I don't know. What do you guys remember your like babyhood? Like when you guys were babies? I don't know. All I remember is like that Rugrats when they were all grown up. The the montage they do when they go from like being babies to like teenagers. That kind of montage was all I remember up until like when we lived in Oklahoma. And I remember eating Cheerios with water because we didn't have any milk because I don't think that they
So
went to the grocery store.
you remember that, but you don't remember, last week.
Nope, sure don't. That's
Now, I don't know if you're all caught up on it, probably not, but there's a long-standing, I don't know if it's a bit, but controversy that we have. And Jacob is notorious or infamous for eating cereal in the shower. And I would like your take on this.
Well, that's a tough one.
I mean, it's
what's
okay.
your-
You're not going to offend me. Don't worry. Like everybody else, they've rung me through the ringer already. I'm not going to change my ways, so it's okay. You don't have to be afraid to hurt my feelings. Like I've heard it all.
What's your motivation behind it? Like saving time?
I mean, saving time is one of those benefits. Just because it's fun. There's it's like an exhilarating experience where like you got the hot shower versus like the cold milk and the cereal. It can happen like in the morning or like after you just get done mowing the lawn. Honestly, it's my version of a shower beer. But it's just like a bowl of cereal, just it's delicious. I mean, it enhances the experience is what I always say. But
All right, like for context, you're in the shower. Do you
Yeah.
eat the bowl like this or like with your arms stretched out? Like
I
what's-
mean,
what's
you're gonna obviously have to have the water on your back, right? Because you're not gonna want like a bunch of shower water in your cereal. So like you got to turn around, you got to eat it. You can have like a little shelf you can put it on too if you want to.
Oh, all right.
But
yeah,
then you're going to get residue.
I mean, nah, it'd be fine. I mean, you get residue anywhere, really, if you start thinking about
Yeah,
it.
but
Like,
you're going to, I mean, like soap and shampoo residue that's going to
I
bounce
think
into
that
your.
the bowl of cereal in the shower is going to be one of those activities that you want to eat the bowl of cereal first and just experience the shower, and then after you get done, or you can be like maybe a post hair washing experience, like you have it sitting outside first, and then you get done, and then you bring it into the shower. But yeah, you don't want to like put it down, wash, and then pick it back up because no telling where that shampoo went, And even, hey, maybe it adds to the flavor. I don't know. I've never eaten shampoo, but
So it's your version of a reward, basically.
Yeah.
That's how you reward yourself.
yeah, and it's the little things in
Alright.
life, honestly. So
Yeah, no. I mean, look, if it's cool with you, we gotta accept it. I'd personally never do it, but like,
Yes.
I mean, that's
It'd be a little weirder if
that's
you
the
showered in
general
milk.
response. Yeah, it's a general response is like, hey, you do you. I'm not gonna personally do it, but you go ahead. That's fine. And
Everyone
I'll
always
take it.
has tons of questions. Like it's the one thing where people are just like, okay, now I have all these questions, like, and it's just like I don't know how to answer them. I don't partake in that sort of activity, so I don't. And like he acts like he's strapped for time.
I mean,
And he's
hey, you gotta get your minutes anywhere you can get them. Honestly, life's too short. Only the good die young. All that stuff. So
I mean,
I
look, from what
guess.
I've gleaned from the podcast, Jacob, you have ADHD, right?
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Me too. So I totally feel you on that. Like,
Hell yeah.
trying to strategize your cereal eating experience with your general hygiene. Like, I get you on that
Thanks so
totally.
much, man. Man, honestly, that's very validating because feels good.
That's what he's been seeking for so long. Is for
I feel
someone
like
to
a
be
weight
like,
just lifted. Yeah, it's great. Feel good.
Finally. So
Yeah.
take us back. I mean, you don't have to take us back to conception, but like take us back. Like give us give us the origin story of yourself and lead us up to the present day.
Or the origin story of myself.
Yeah.
So I was born near Frankfurt, Germany, which you're
Okay.
going to be familiar with because it's where Crytek is located.
Okay.
I was thinking like the
Um,
sausages, but I mean like the Frankfurt, the hot
Oh,
dogs.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
those are delicious. So
That too. But
More
like,
importantly, Crytek.
yeah, probably so. Yeah.
Ever since Alex and I have started like DMing each other on Twitter, he's been telling me about Hunt Showdown.
Oh, man.
So I was like,
Yeah.
Crytek's probably a good like.
Yes, absolutely. By the time this episode comes out, the new update is out
Let's go.
Oh.
I'm so excited, man.
because it comes out Thursday. This will come out Friday.
Yeah, and then after that, I did my fair share of living as a kid. And then we moved to Munich. And after moving to Munich, we moved back to the general area of Frankfurt. It's a small town called Aschaffenburg.
Okay.
And that's where I've been living for 14 years now.
Okay.
And after that, during that time, I just, started getting interested in comics and just doing stuff visually, being creative,
Yeah.
doing just stuff related to media in general. I was big on brick films. Are you familiar with that term? Is that something you're familiar with?
Oh
No.
man, I'm looking it up, but
I know
you
there's
can
a
explain
movie
it as well.
called Brick, right, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
It's
Think.
Lego stop motion animation. It's kind
Oh,
of what
okay, I got you.
inspired the Lego movie.
Okay, that makes total
Somewhere down the
sense.
road. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that's kind of how I got started in, or like got interested in just doing stuff for myself because I had a shit ton of Lego. And I was like, hey, I can just do this at home with a camera and Windows Movie Maker. And then that kind of transitioned over into drawing because that's like pretty much like animation. It's like drawing in sequence, and then you end
Sure.
up with a comic. And I was doing that for fun for like years until like when I was 15, almost 16. I had this experience where I read Dark Knight Returns and All Star Superman back to
Hmm.
back.
Oh yeah.
And that was like such a wild experience for me. Like I read those two comics and I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around that people had made that. It
Sure.
was so crazy for me. So I kind of had to look up the creators of that, and that's how I got into Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely, and Frank Miller. And that was the point where I started getting into comics on the terms of the creators. So I would look into all the different creators, what Grant Morrison had done, Frank Quitely had done. I kind of branched off from that. And that was the point where I was like, if people are able to make this in comics and like create something this earth shaking, that's what I want to do for a living. And then
Hell
I
yeah, dude.
detoured over into videography, freelance videography after graduating high school. But yeah, I've been doing comics full time for 2.5 years now.
That's awesome. Now, have did you like doodle and stuff, and or was it just something that you picked up and was like, I'm gonna start doing art? Because most people that I talk to, like they've always been, they've always just like always had a pad and they're always doodling and like they just like, work their way. Because I think that there's always the debate of like, talent versus like, working at a talent versus born with a talent. I think some people are just naturally born with certain skills, and like all of the practice helps refine them, where like, could I learn to draw? I mean, I can barely draw like a stick figure. Could I learn to draw if I put in the time? Maybe, but I'm in a sense such a perfectionist in that sense that like I know it's kind of like painting like Warhammers and like minis.
Yeah.
Like I've always wanted to do it, but I've never committed to it because I know that the first like bunch that I do are going to be like heaping piles of shit, and then it's going to be like I don't want to do this. Like I don't want to
That
do this anymore
yeah.
because like you know what I mean. And it's not like a hobby that you can just, oh yeah, I'll spend a couple bucks. Like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
$400 just to get into it, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I love the idea of it, and I know that like I've got friends that do it, and like it's like it's super cool, but like
Mm.
also a time thing. But like I know that like if I did it and I stuck to it, like I would get better. And I know that most, if not all, artists are sort of a bit deprecating in general, just because it's like, oh, and it could be better, it could be this. So like in a roundabout way, were you always someone who drew, or was it just something that you decided one day, like after reading those books, that hey, I'm gonna start drawing, like this is what I want to do?
I've always been drawing, I guess. Like
Okay.
drawing's always been like a thing that I've been doing, but it's always just been like I have creative ideas in my head and I just have to get them out somehow.
Sure.
And that's, why I got interested in stop motion animation, and that led to being interested in videography, cinematography. But another avenue of that was drawing. And ultimately, I realized like, hey, comics in sequence as a storyboard is basically like directing drawings.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how those two came together. Drawing was just for the longest time. It was just another thing that I was doing as another means of being creative
Yes.
until I realized like, yo, people
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do this and it can look this fucking good.
Yeah.
That's so cool to me.
That's
Like
when I
that's really cool that like you saw like that you can remember the time where you like the thing that you saw inspired you to like take on like your profession or whatever. That's really neat. That's like me
yeah,
seeing
yeah.
Hugh Jackman shirtless in Deadpool and realizing like I want to be shredded, and so that's what I'm working on. So you know,
Hey, it's
Yeah.
a goal.
Yeah, exactly. No, you have to be goal oriented with it, no matter what you're doing. Yeah, and to me it was, I want to be able to draw really cool comics, but it wasn't like I want to draw really cool Spider-Man comics or Batman comics. Just I want to make something in the comic format that looks this good.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just saying, I've been taking a look at your art like for the past like 3 or 4 days now, and like this isn't me just like trying to blow smoke up your ass. It's a saying that we use here, but like that shit's fire. I mean, to speak in millennial
Thanks.
and in Gen Z terms, that shit is fire, man. I mean, it's like,
Thank you.
I love. It's got such an awesome like retro look, but also looks modern in a sense. And like, I mean, I'm gonna put like some photos of your artwork if that's okay, like up here in the YouTube video version. But like this shit, this it's fucking awesome. Yeah, like right there. I'm putting it right over top of
Now,
your face. It's
I would
gonna be
just like to
great.
point out, right? So like he's been supportive of Polar Destroyer, but like I never got that sort of compliment. Not once have I gotten. I
You're
showed him
my
your
best
cover.
friend.
He
You
was
know,
the first
I
person. Well, actually, I showed my wife your cover that you're doing.
Yeah.
So I guess you're doing the variant cover for issue 2, and
Yes.
I showed her. She loved it. It's her favorite cover so far. And I showed
That's
Jacob,
nice.
and he just like no sold it. He was like, "Man, that's cool." I'm
I
like,
mean, I don't. I have a hard time expressing emotion.
you don't. Clearly,
put on
you
the
don't
spot.
because you just did.
Okay. I mean, like yes. I don't know. It's a weird thing, man. I have a weird brain. I don't know how it works, but I've expressed to you several times. I could do it through via text message really easily, but like no, like Polar Shore is fucking awesome too. I don't know, but you know,
Yeah, but
It
like
is.
I never got that sort of like eloquent, like, bro, like this is dope. Like, and it's just like, yeah, it's a cool thing.
speaking of which, the cover you did, fucking fire, so good. I mean, it's awesome. It's
Thank you.
just.
I will
Oh
let
man.
you use it. I'll use this as a means of showing it to the world. How about that on
I don't want
Friday?
to show all of it though. It's like oh,
No, that's
damn.
fine. You can show it
that's fine.
Friday.
Okay, I'm putting
Oh, it's
scrolling
fine.
across the screen right now. People are like, what is
We'll
this?
show 5 pixels of it.
Yeah.
There you
Zoomed
go.
up really
Hell yeah.
close. What the fuck? The color orange?
Yes.
That's all of it. It's just like a cloud in the sky that's orange or something. Just like yeah, that's it. That's all I'm showing.
What was
First, the gingers are gonna pick that color.
Hell yeah.
what was the first book that you had like published?
Published. That's the funny thing. I'm in a very funny situation right now. I've like the first published thing that I've had is my creator-owned comic,
Okay.
Seconds to Midnight, which is a web comic.
Okay.
But I've been working since December of last year on a bunch of anthology stories and other comics that are all pretty much finished to mostly finished, but none of them have come out.
Ah.
So, because most of them are indie related, the covers I've done and the stories I've done are still being in the process of being finished.
Okay.
But the last thing, like chronologically, that I did was my short story that I did for Boom Studios, which I can talk about now. And that was in May. I drew that in May. And that's the first thing that's going to come out because it comes out end of August, August 28th in issue 2 of Hello Darkness. So like that will be the first thing that will be like actively published with my art in it.
Okay.
So
Now that is interiors.
Yeah, that's interiors. It's an 8-page short story called Stargazers that I wrote and drew, colored, and lettered.
Man, look at you.
Damn, that's all.
I envy
Isn't
you.
that all of it? Like from what I remember, Alex's experience, like yeah, that's all of it. Isn't it? Like
You got it. Well, there's editing. If
Editing.
anybody needs to edit it.
Yeah, it was edited by Carolyn Butler. She's my editor on that, and she's fantastic. Shout out to her real
shouts
quick.
out for sure.
Yeah.
Now, have you had any covers before this, or is it sort of the same situation?
It's the same situation. Yeah. I'm still in like the webcomic sphere as of right now.
Okay.
That's basically the reason why I decided to do my creator-owned comic Seconds to Midnight. Because I was like really pressuring myself into what my first ever comic was going to be. I was
Right.
like building myself up and like, oh my God, when I put out that first comic, it's got to be yada yada, this and that. But you just kind of have to pull that plug. You have to just put something out. It's the basic rule. One of my comics friends always says, if you want to make comics, you got to make comics. And I've just been existing in that webcomic sphere for now. But yeah, no, I've got a cover coming with Polar Destroyer issue 2, which
Yes.
I'm super excited for.
Thank
And
you.
then I've got another cover with a horror comic. That was the first cover that I actually did, called Long Dark Winter, written by Matt Ringel. That's also very fun. And a cover for Karin 13 issue 2 with Trouble Studios. Those are the 3 covers that are done and will be published over the course of the second half of the year. I'm always saying on Twitter, like, guys, I swear the second half of the year is where it turns out I've not been gaslighting you. I'm actually working on stuff.
Do you, it's sort of a weird question, but like, do you prefer interiors or covers?
Um,
Depends on the pay.
it depends on the pay. Um, I'm, it depends on the mood, I
Yeah.
guess. And it also depends on the project. Generally, I'm very much into interiors because, like I said, it has that directorial video kind of aspect to it that I just can't switch off. But if it's a cool cover and if the project's cool, like when you approached me for Polar Destroyer, you were like, yo, this is the book. And I was like, what the fuck? This is so cool.
See, I don't have to hype you up because everybody else does it. You know, you've got the validation there. All right.
Yeah. I remember I was in bed with my fiance and I scrolled through my mails and I was like, look at this. I'm supposed to do a cover for this. He asked me if I could do a cover for this. She was like, that's like 100% you're up your alley. And I'm like, yeah, that's fucking cool. So if the project's cool, the covers are a no-brainer. Like I always pick them through like, is it a project that I'm interested in? Because if I'm not into the project and you offered me like X amount of money, you know, the motivation creatively still not all the way there. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Um, how how did you sort of hone in on like your style? Because you have a very specific style
Yeah.
that you sort of do. And
Yeah.
how did that come about? Because it is, I mean, it's pretty unique. Because I mean, I mean, like if you're someone like Jacob, I mean, Jacob can discern the difference, but like there's a lot of times if you put different artists up next to each other, Jacob wouldn't be able to tell. And I don't think that's necessarily a Jacob thing.
I don't
If
read
you
enough.
read comics long
Yeah.
enough and you sort of start to learn, you know, like Kelly Jones has this specific thing, or you know, Tim Sale looks like this, or you know, Greg Capallo, you know, all these people, like the more you sort of like ingest that sort of stuff, you sort of become acclimated to like, oh, like you know, you can look at covers and be like, so and so did this cover, you know, whatever.
Mm.
And then but like yours, that was one of the things that sort of like I was like, oh, hold on now, like this is rad as fuck, like let's see. And it's so weird because like you sort of geared, not specifically, but you do a lot of horror stuff is what you
Yeah.
which is
No,
funny
definitely.
because Eamon Winkle, who did the variant of the first issue, was the same thing where he was like, I do horror and very Kelly Jones inspired stuff, but he's like, I would love to take a stab at drawing a cyborg polar bear because that is way out of my wheelhouse. And was that, I mean, you said that like you genuinely was interested in doing it, but like,
Yeah.
is that sort of how you approached it too? Where like, this is kind of not what I do, even though it's in my wheelhouse, but like, how did, I guess, what was your thought process and all of that?
Yeah. Like stylistically, to answer the style part of the question,
You're good.
like my style, like Jacob said, is very retro inspired, but that's because I'm an incredibly nostalgic person. I love nostalgia. It's like I'm a nostalgia shill all the way.
It's a
Like
hell of a drug.
Yeah.
a friend of mine once said it's the best and worst emotion at the same time, and
Hmm.
I totally feel that. And the reason why I like my art to look so vintage, quote unquote, is because I want it to look like something that you would find at a yard sale. Like it's an old comic you find at the end of a long
Very
box.
pulpy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it has existed in the world for X amount of time and you're just finding it again. It's like something you feel nostalgic for without directly ripping off like any specific artist or
Right.
any specific time period. It just feels nostalgic because of the colors and the way that I frame stuff.
I was about
I
to say the
like
palette that
to
you use too. Yeah, like the palette even does have that kind of like you were saying vintage feel to it as well, where it's like again, like there's their modernness of it. I don't know how to explain, in like layman's terms or
He
whatever.
doesn't know
Just
words good.
I don't know good words, that's for sure. But like yeah, the palette they use as well does like really help that vintage aspect to it. So, but sorry,
Thank
continue.
you.
Apologies.
No. It's true. I use something called fuck. Now I'm out of words.
Hell yeah,
They're
dude. It happens
called.
to me all the time. I'm just glad it's happening to somebody else. It's great.
They're look. I don't know the name of it. I don't know words good right now, but they're
okay.
basically they're retro brushes where you can do like the halftone look of the old
Yeah,
comics.
yeah.
And they send you a color palette along with that if you buy them. It's like $40, and they send you the brushes and for your drawing program and the color palette. Because usually you have like the color wheel in any given drawing program. You're like, here's a billion colors. Choose your favorite blue. But this one is limited to, I think, 75 different colors, and they're all the colors that you could basically produce when you colored back in the day, when you colored the comics
That's
back
sick.
in the day.
Okay.
And all my drawings are a mix up of those 75 different colors, so it's very limited. Yeah, and that's kind of why I like to really do the retro style, because I think a lot of people, when they think about like their fondest memory with comics, it's like the comics they had in their childhood, their first issue of X-Men. Like for me, it's Dark Knight Returns. It's like a comic they got from like as a hand-me-down or wherever, and that's kind of what inspired the retro style. It's like that cozy, nostalgic feeling to a memory in the back of your head. And with Polar Destroyer, like immediately I was like, okay, people are going to expect me to do a horror or like violent action inspired thing. I think Alex and I, within our first 10 messages about this thing, Doom was brought up like immediately because we're both huge Doom fans. And I was like, yeah, but what if I don't do that? What if I subvert it in a way? And like now it's not like he's shooting through a group of penguins Doom style, or he's standing on top of them like the classic Doom cover homage. What if, like, instead of blood and guts, it's like the little snippets of the page that he's like shooting through? So instead of blood,
He's
it's
transcended comics and he's coming into reality. He's like
exactly,
he's there.
exactly, yeah.
He's being born into the world in a sense.
Yeah, and I wanted to do something fun, because the idea, if you elevator pitch Polar Destroyer, people are immediately going to say, "Oh, that's fun," because that is a fucking fun idea. So
I've been saying this the whole time. Everybody I talked to, it's like every time I talked to, it was like, "Hey, I think it's a bomb ass idea. I don't understand why more people don't enjoy it." And it's this again. It's not me blowing smoke up your ass, Alex. It's like it's one of those things where it's like, I could see it. I've told him several times, like I could see it on a shelf of comics, right, in a store, where it's like you'd look at it and you'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this one. Might as well. It looks rad. Let's get it. So I don't know, but hey,
it's not that people don't enjoy it. It's the hardest part. I think there's a lot of hard parts when it comes to indie comics and self-financing and publishing stuff. But the hardest part really is getting people to purchase. Like you can do, you can lead a horse to water, but like you can't force them to do it. So it's like,
and in this economy, yeah.
Well, not even that. It's just I'm a nobody, right? So word of mouth helps, and then occasionally I get a random thing where I'll post it on like somebody's thread on Twitter, and trying to fight the algorithm is hard, but trying to just get it in the hands of people is very hard because it gets lost in the shuffle. And doing your own book, it's never been easier to do your own book, but in that same sense, it's never been harder for people to look at your book, because crowdfunding exists, which is great for people like me, but it makes it more accessible. Not that it shouldn't be, it's just that it makes it more accessible. But then I have a weird feeling about publishers, like actual publishers using stuff like Kickstarter, because I'm like, that sort of defeats the purpose of what it was intended for. But it's like, if you're a creator and you can get, $200,000 of people to just like fund a thing, why would you do it yourself?
Yeah.
And like there was a like GI Joe just did a omnibus, right? All of their like 80s or 90s like comics they put together in an omnibus, and it's like, why are you and it made over $1 million, and it's like, why are you crowdfunding that? But then again, it's like
they made $1 million.
it made $1 million, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, why? So again, like that's a weird gray area that, but all that to say is my biggest hurdle is just trying to, because like I actively have tried to, and you've probably heard this, is like, I'm like, Twitter is you know, it is what it is now, but
Yeah.
I need it for the Kickstarter and I need it for the comic, but like I just don't, like I don't spend as much time on it, so it's weird, man. It's like, it's just like a weird time to, and I just do it because like it's fun, you know, and
Yeah.
like that's why I create. I didn't do my comic book for some, you know, ulterior motive. Be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be the next guy. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Which I think is like the wrong way to approach anything, right?
No, exactly.
You know, like you don't do a podcast thinking, oh well, bro, we're gonna have
so many times, yeah.
we're gonna be the #1 podcast in the world, and it's like, no, we're not.
No,
like, who the fuck are we? We're just a bunch of jabronis, you know. And we genuinely just do this because it's fun, and you know, we get to meet people like you and all the sorts of people that we've met by doing it. But like, you know, I guess, what's your motivation other than, yes, you like to do it, it's fun, and I guess you were talking about being goal oriented. What is your goal? What is like some, I don't want to say your long-term goal, but like, what are, you know, let's say 4 years from now, like where do you hope that you are in terms of the industry?
In terms of the industry,
or your career, either way.
Just like, yeah, what does Frederick want to do? You know, why are you doing art?
I want to own the rights to Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
On the
Okay.
right note.
All right.
No.
All right.
No.
Good
Well,
luck.
it'll be public domain in 2036, I think.
You gotta act
Oh
fast.
yeah, right.
Though.
Well,
Wait,
that plan's fucked. Yeah, no. I wanna, like, I posted this on Twitter like a few days ago. My White Whale project is literally the White Whale project. Like, I want to do a big graphic novel adaptation of Moby Dick.
Okay.
dude,
That's
sick. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Big long-term goal. I want to do Moby Dick and I want to do Nosferatu, because that's like in our German horror DNA. That's like the two projects I want to do. But the thing that I really want, and the thing that keeps me going, is like, this is a dream job. Of course it's hard. Like, I can't emphasize the job part of it all enough. Like, have to do my own accounting, have to write my own invoices, do my own taxes. Like, it's very much a job. But the nicest compliment anyone's ever said to me about my job was, oh, that's a job that you can go to bed well at night with. Like, you'll sleep well knowing that's your job. You'll feel fulfilled. And that's what I want to continue to do. I just want to be creative and be able to go to sleep at night thinking, fuck yeah, I drew a monster and that was to make a living.
Hell yeah.
That's what I want to do, because, you know, ultimately I am, like, the way that I'm drawing stuff, even if it's based off of other people's scripts or other people's notes, I want to do it because I genuinely find it fun, and I want to give it like the most fun version of whatever I can bring to the table as possible. And long term, I mean, like I said, I have some plans, and of course there are like certain pipe dreams of like actual properties that I would want to do, but I want to keep on doing Seconds to Midnight. That's my little baby. That's my horror anthology. That's what I want to continue doing all the way till the end. And other than that, I'm just cool with going with the flow and seeing what fun project comes my way, because I treat every project the same. I don't have any like, this one's just on the side, this one's eh. I treat everyone with just the same amount of respect and fun.
How do you, speaking personally, I mean, this is not a blanket statement, but how do, like, I found that artists in general, typically, at least here in the States, and that's not a wrong way to, like, the way they look at it, but is that they like to say yes to a lot of things, even though that they know that they will end up taking on more than they can handle, because they know that, or they don't know when the next check is coming. They don't know where the next project's coming. So like, you know, you could go months without a project and then you get slapped with like 5 and you don't want to tell people no. So like, what have you done on your end as far as like, or like what kind of tips do you have for people to like time management and learning to say no? Because like saying no is hard for a lot of people, not just artists. This one over here does not like to say, he doesn't like to commit yes or no to anything.
That's because if I do, I'll have to say no or yes, and I don't want to do that.
And like
I don't know where I'm
have
gonna
no
be.
issues with a hard yes or a hard no. Like it's whatever, you know. But like how have you managed to sort of like, because yours, the thing that outside of the cover being rad, my favorite part was that it was like a snap of a finger, almost turnaround on, you were just like, hey, you were very upfront. You're like, I've got a couple things I got to do. When I do those, yours is top. And then like within 3 weeks, like it was like concept. And then it was like in 3 weeks it was done. And I was just like, and then like I deal with other stuff and I'm just like how does it get so long? You know what I mean?
No, I get you. But like, Jacob, I will let you know, when it comes to personal stuff, I'm also like very much a king of the maybe. That's like very much a thing that I'm doing. Like, you know, it will, like, my fiance, her big hobby, she's a therapist, but her big hobby is interior design and like redecorating and decorating in general. Whenever she like pitches me an idea and she's like, hey, I want to redesign our rooms this or that way, I'm always like, yeah, maybe, you know, sure.
That's what my thing is, I think it has to deal a lot with like, I don't want to let the person down, but so like saying yeah maybe feels to me like, hey, I didn't let them down yet. So, and I can wait.
And that does work, but like I have a certain personality type to where that infuriates me because I'm asking you a question and you're not giving me an answer. You're
I have
giving
been
me
more
a non-answer.
direct, like in answering stuff with you more or less or whatever. Here, I've been working on.
I almost have to give you like an ultimatum and be like, I need to know now.
That helps me. That helps me a lot.
Tomorrow,
I don't think you understand. That helps me a lot.
Are we going?
Yeah.
And you're just like, let me think about it. And it's like, okay. And then you sure shit will remind you.
Give me deadlines, man. I can do it. I work so well with deadlines. It's crazy, but
that's the ADHD though.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've been learning a lot about that here recently, or whatever.
He's finally medicated.
Yeah. Medicated and whatnot.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
We're in the same club. Yeah.
It's honestly like, I cannot express it enough. I know that like, shouts out Ian, is one of our good friends. Like he was kind of like, I mean, obviously all my friends are kind of like, yeah, you know, go get medicated or whatever, go talk to the doctor. But like he kind of pushed me and I was like, you know what, finally going to do it. You know,
physically
like,
pushed
you know, physically pushed me, shoved me to the doctor. But yeah, man, just go to the doctor, talk to him, you know. If you don't like that doctor, go to another doctor because we can, you know, okay, well, it's not as easy to do in America as it is probably in Germany to just go to a different doctor.
Yeah.
But
no, for sure.
Find one. But anyways, yeah, continue. Sorry. Yeah.
No, in terms of like time management for professional stuff, like rule number one is you have to fail at it. If you don't fall on your face managing your projects, then you'll never learn, because then imposter syndrome is going to act up and you're going to be like, hey, I've been having a fucked up time management for 5 years now and somehow everything still works, but you're just building up that
eventually
house of cards.
Yeah, eventually it's going to fall. Like, yeah.
Something's going to fall apart and then everything just comes crashing down. But like once you've failed, you're able to calculate that into your time management better. Like if I told you, Alex, like, yo, Polar Destroyer cover, it's going to be done tomorrow, and then I'm like 2 weeks behind and I'm like, all right, it's going to take another month, then obviously that's fucked up for you and I've let you down. But that should obviously never happen. But if it happens, it should happen once. And then you can calculate that into your future plans where it's like, all right, if I'm busy with 3 projects at the same time and I take on a cover, I should let them know, when's the deadline? When's the campaign? When do you need like the inks to show as like a preliminary thing? And like calculate that into your stuff, because a huge part of what like I said, my fiance and I talk about, she's a therapist, an occupational therapist. And I always talk to her like, I want my job, freelance comic artist, is like Fugazi as a job. But like, I want them to, or that, the nebulous them, I want people to see it as a real job. But then she's like, okay, if you want it to be treated as a real job, get studio times, and accept failure. Because people, when they're doing their real job, slack off, are on their phone, accept that they're not getting done as much. You have to calculate that in. You can't like.
That's me to a T. That's what I do for sure.
And like you have to let go of perfectionism, because if you're trying to be like, hey, I'm working all the time because I'm a comic artist, you're going to burn out. You're just putting pressure on yourself.
Damn,
So
dude.
my tip for time management, if you're still trying to figure it out, let yourself fail. Give yourself the ability, the chance and the space to fail, and get a calendar and get set work times. That's my big thing. I have set studio times, and I close the door on the office in our flat, and that's it.
That's awesome.
That's like,
Yeah.
God, that's great advice, honestly. Like, hell yeah. Shit.
What I'm gonna deviate from comics a little bit. What is the general perception of the United States in Germany?
Yeah, obviously we gotta be a little bit arrogant. Right?
I know
we
that is a
gotta-
very blanket statement, and it's a that's like a hard left turn there.
And don't worry, our audience primarily has the same views as us. Which I don't know if you know this. The U.S. is kind of meh to us. I don't know. We've seen better days, I guess is what you could say. So
Sure.
Yeah. No. All right. So, I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of bias. I love the U.S. Like, you can probably tell that I don't necessarily sound German when I'm talking in English.
I was gonna say,
I was going to point that out.
I had a hard time. My brain is still trying to, like, yeah, you were born in Germany, you live in Germany, but you have a very American way of speaking, which is, I don't know if that's an insult. Sorry, I apologize if it is, but
No, not at all. But like when I was a kid, my parents used to take me to America quite a lot because my dad had business there in New York and sometimes North Carolina and sometimes Miami. And that's how I grew up. Like when I was a kid, I had to kind of grow up speaking both languages because like sometimes I had babysitters and I obviously couldn't talk to them in German.
You should just fuck with him, honestly. Like he's been talking to me in this German language this whole time. I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he wants. He won't take anything I hand to him. You know,
like a fucking demon style.
Yeah. Depending on what part of the country you're in.
Yeah, but like general perception, I love a lot about the United States. One of my best friends in the whole world's from Texas. But, you know, the whole gun thing, the whole Trump thing,
Right.
Okay.
that definitely rubs off on the image. Like people are very much here in Germany. I mean, they have the same opinion about Germany, but like it's very politically influenced. So they're like, yeah, you guys have had better times. Like, where the fuck's like early 2010s, late 2000s America? That was like still cool, minus the war stuff.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah, but the war stuff kind of just comes with the territory, honestly. Like we've kind of just always just done the war stuff, and it's kind of always been like a
How do
thing
you
that
think
we
we
don't.
got where we were?
Yeah, I mean, people
Exactly.
don't like to talk about it here, but like, yeah, the whole reason we're kind of here is like the war stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean,
But no, like, thanks for Jurassic Park. Could have done without the war stuff, honestly.
I mean, hey, you know, you gotta take the good with the bad, honestly. But
Did you all have like American television? Because I know that Australia is very much, they have like a lot of they perceive America as like what is fed to them based off of like what TV they have. Because I mean, they have their own stuff, but a lot of Australians were, you know, very much like if you grew up around the same time, we all knew the same sort of things because they were all influenced, and you know, like talking about nostalgia, they all have sort of the same reference point for stuff. Did you all have any growing up any experience to, or did you have like an American station? Because like, you know, we have BBC over here, but like, did you have like, I don't know. Well, we have a network called the USA Network, but did you guys have like a USA Network where it's like Seinfeld and Friends and
No. We didn't have any of that. Like one of my big highlights when I was in America was watching reruns of Batman the Animated Series and Scooby Doo. That was my big thing. But no, we didn't have any American television at home as far as I could tell. Like everything, because Germany and America are like so close culturally, pop culturally, we still got like some of the stuff, Like we had, we have the German version of the Disney Channel. We have that
Okay.
for sure. And there was like, I don't know if you guys know this. There was like a channel called Jetix, something like that. It was
No, not
like,
ringing a bell. Yeah.
I think it was like a merger between Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network.
Okay.
And there was some of the stuff on there, like that's where I saw the Pokemon anime for the first time and all that stuff. But no, can't say we did. We did have, like I said, the Disney stuff, but
I would say
yeah,
that streaming has probably helped streamline
yeah,
that, where you have
yeah,
access to the same sort of stuff we do. But I know that, like, with licenses and all that, like, I know
yeah,
Canada Netflix has certain things that the US Netflix doesn't have, and sort of thing like that.
yeah.
Um, I don't know where I was, where
What?
I had a whole, I had a whole
I
point
got
to
it.
that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, what was your favorite '90s kids show then growing up? Like, so I don't mean to date you or anything like that, but like, I don't know. Like, are you our age? Like, I'm 30. How old am I? 35? No,
You are
30.
not 35.
I'm
You are
almost
33.
35. I'm really close to
It's
35.
33.
It's
33.
this
So like,
again.
yeah. But I didn't know. Like, so what was your favorite like kid show growing up? Like, from a German's perspective, obviously, because like if you guys you had different television than we did. So I don't know. I want to know like German cartoons. That was fun. That sounds fun.
Um, I am 26.
Okay.
I turned 26 a little while ago, and I still got like through hand-me-downs and others like reruns because the stuff got dubbed in German, and then they just ran it on our channel called Super RTL, and that's where we got stuff like Gargoyles, the
Okay.
X-Men
All
animated
right.
series,
Let's go.
Spider-Man animated series, um, the Batman stuff. And there are some German animated shows, but those are like I'm blanking on all of them right now
Hell
because they were like so uninfluential to me. Like we have one called Bina Maya, which is about a bee called Maya,
okay.
and her friend is a grasshopper. And
Okay.
it wasn't anime, it was animated in Japan. And then we just like we outsourced it to those guys to do cool stuff. And yeah, Germany has like some it's a lot of like anthropomorphic animal stuff, talking to each other, going on adventures. I guess that's like
That sounds to me
our
like
thing.
Disney Junior. Yeah, like the Disney Channel,
Yeah,
like kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's animated like a fucking fever dream nightmare. There's one about like a pig and his barnyard friends, but they're all dressed like Irish farmers and they go on adventures, and I have like a vague memory of them encountering like a ghost sheep in one episode, and it's really
But
really
that's like
weird stuff.
that's so cool. Like, one of the questions I had for you is like, if you could take a kid show that you saw and kind of put like an adult version on it, like a horror spin on it, towards like kind of like what they're doing with Winnie the Pooh, since it's public domain. And there's another one. What is it? What's
Mickey
it?
Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. Like they're making
Right,
these
yeah,
horror
yeah,
versions of it. Like, and one of my questions is
yeah.
gonna be like, what kid show would you pick to do that to? But mine would be Courage the Cowardly Dog, which is kind of a lot like in that vein of Fever Dream pitch, because
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
some of the
already kind of weird.
oh yeah, dude, like
Exactly.
there's
Yeah, I
some of
was
the
gonna say,
scariest
yeah.
shit I saw as a kid was from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like I would love like an adult version of that where it's like a horror in like themed, and it's just even more so over the top with the just the crazy shit that they put in there. But I didn't know, like, so
Yeah,
what would
yeah.
your pick be for like a cartoon that you saw as a kid, just taking it and making it to an adult version of itself? Sorry to put
Can
you on
I
the
just
spot
pick
as well.
whatever? Can I
Yeah, no,
pick
whatever.
whatever?
Yeah, honestly,
So
whatever.
so
Like,
not just necessarily German. All right. So an adult spin on a children's TV show that I liked, Batman the Cape Crusader, now streaming on Amazon Prime Video.
so they
But
already
like
did it. They already
no,
did it for you. They're like, yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, honestly, that's tough. I like the idea of an adult version of Gargoyles a lot.
Yeah.
Like I think because that offers itself a lot to mythology, and I'm a very big folklore buff and like very interested in folklore. So the different interpretations of creatures that are like gargoyles, but like actually doing the fairy tale version of them where they're like cruel monsters.
Hmm.
And it's like the gargoyles go on a world tour and they encounter stuff in Transylvania and whatever.
Like they're like,
I
hey
think that
guys,
would
we
be
don't do the
cool.
whole murdering and killing thing anymore. Can we just like,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
then the other guys turn around, they're like, nah, this is kind of what we've always done. We're just gonna keep doing ourselves. So if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah. Something like did you guys see the final season of Samurai Jack? Are you familiar with all
Oh
that?
man,
I am.
Samurai Jack is
I
so
I
good.
love so I like his other show more.
Primal.
Primal. Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
haven't. I
sir.
don't know if I ever finished Samurai Jack,
If
but
it ever gets to that point, I would love Polar Destroyer to be in that art style, that like aesthetically like adult oriented sort of vein and limited in nature. Like I don't need like 100 seasons kind of thing. Like you can tell
Yeah.
a really concise, really cool story, but like with I love, I think, what is it? I don't know how to say his name.
Gendy Tartakovsky.
There it is.
Yeah.
I know, just like
Yeah.
open the podcast about saying people's names, but like I couldn't remember his name. I knew it was like something along those lines, but
Yeah.
I did not see the last season of Samurai Jack. I saw the first one in my weird memory. It's like I watched it on Cartoon Network when it was like around,
Hmm.
but to me, it was only one season. Like
Yeah.
right, and then it went away for a while, and I guess they brought it back and did multiple seasons.
they did
and by
it
the
on
time,
Adult Swim, I think, is what they picked
right,
it up
so
on. Yeah.
I had only seen the first season, and it wasn't until 10, 15 years later that I like, maybe it was on like Netflix, where I'm like, why does this say 5 seasons? And then like
Yeah,
you go
yeah.
look, and I'm like
There's this
like-
whole other plot line.
like there's this whole other like I'm like, so no, to answer your question, I did not see the final season.
It's people give the last episode a lot of shit for some reason. I like it personally, but that's like the kind of tone that I would love for a Gargoyles thing, where it's like, devil may care. It's adult now. It's graphic now. Go fuck up some shit. Have some fun. Good animation. Good budget behind it. It's Disney now, so it probably will never happen. But like, imagine like a Disney budget level Gargoyles 2D animated adult show. Like that would be so cool.
That'd be,
Yeah.
Get the guys who did the X-Men show to do it.
that'd be dope.
Yeah, you could do that. It need to be a little like, it would need a different coat of paint on it than X-Men, obviously, because X-Men is very vibrant and all that, even though like the undertones are a lot more adult oriented, whereas like
Yeah.
to me, like Gargoyles would need to be a little bit darker, not necessarily Batman the Animated Series, but like a little bit closer in tone to that. I think it would work.
Yeah.
I know that there's an ongoing comic. I see it at the comic shop all the time. But it's so weird that Disney owns that and they own Marvel, but they don't. Dynamite does all of Disney's.
Oh, it's a Dynamite thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's Dynamite along with like Darkwing Duck and all that stuff, and it's just like that's so weird because you own Marvel. And
Yeah.
you own these
Yeah.
characters, but maybe it's a licensing thing where they get like money back just by it existing. I don't know. Licensing is weird, man, and rights are weird, and all that stuff is really weird.
Yeah.
What is your favorite German specific cryptid?
Oh wow.
I did.
German specific.
I'm not gonna lie here. I'm very ignorant in not knowing if there was any German cryptids. I apologize for not knowing.
Sure, there is.
Like,
I mean, I guess German folklore, because like most of our
arrogance.
stuff is like based off something else.
Yeah. Well, there's witches. Witches are a thing. It's funny to me. There's a medical condition where you get pain in your lower back, like a sudden cramp in your lower back, like a sudden stinging pain, and they call that in German. They call that Hexenschuss, and that means like a witch's blow or a witch's hit. That's what it means, and that goes back all the way to when people still believed in witches, and they believed that if you got that lower back pain, it was a witch that was doing that to you.
Pissed off a witch. Yeah.
Yeah, and doctors still call it that. That's like the medical term for that
That's like,
to this
yeah,
day.
it's so
That's dope.
crazy. Like, because I feel like I've heard more of these situations, but like, yeah, there's like shit that it's based off of like ancient times, but they still use it for like current diagnoses, and it's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
that's cool, but also like we can update the books probably, if we wanted
No,
to. But,
why?
But
That's
then
a-
again, yeah, at the same time, still really cool. So let's do that. Let's keep calling it that. But
Yeah. Witches are dope. I think Germany kind of has dibs on the bulk of the werewolf folklore,
Okay.
the Black Forest here in Bavaria in particular. But my favorite cryptid is very local to here. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's this bridge in a town that I live very close to, and it's like a woodsy town, and there is like a small river that flows through the woods, and there's a small wooden bridge on there, and the bridge is like 100 years old or something, and not 100 years old, like literally hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
And apparently, there's this creature that looks like a frog, but also a man, but also a squirrel for some fucking reason. And he
You went real New York there with that.
Some fucking reason.
Some fucking reason.
And he lives under the bridge. And when you walk across the bridge at a certain time of night with the moon in a certain position, he's like a fucking goblin who's like, answer me these questions 3 and I shall let you pass. And if you get one of the questions wrong, he's gonna rip you under the bridge and eat you. That's what happens.
Hell yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about. That's a cryptid.
I would, man, there's part of me where sometimes I just wish that all of those creatures were like legit. You know what I mean? Like there's, like Slender Man is out there for real. And like, the chupacabra, like yes, but you know what I mean? Like they're commonly accepted things. Like you don't go in, like, we don't go to the woods at night because there's bears. Okay. Yeah. You don't go over here because it's, it's where the Slender Man is known to frequent, or you don't go to that den at night because that's where the chupacabras are. Like that would be a wild existence, but like that would be really cool. What, Jacob?
Now, okay. So like I have been walking myself back from the edge a little bit here recently. I got a good book that was talking about how like conspiracy theories are all just kind of loosely based off of places in history where we don't have information necessarily at the time, and so what the con artists basically fill it in with like conspiracy theories to make a profit. Anyways, the whole that being said is that like I still have my cryptid beliefs, but I like to believe that all cryptids are either on an like an interplanar level, like we haven't experienced them yet. But like if you look at things like the platypus, right? People like the platypus is a great example because people literally thought this thing was a cryptid. Like the scientist, the guy who discovered it the first time, brought it back to his little town, and they were like, "Why did you sew like a duck to a beaver and then slap like some fangs in it, dude? Like you're really messed up. You're a really messed up guy." But it wasn't until like they further like explored and found like like platypus is like a real thing. So I like to believe that like Bigfoot and Slender Man, Slender Man's more of a tulpa though. He's more of like something that we created through our imagination and like kind of brought life into this thing, and then it became a real thing in our minds. That all being said, it's like all these things that we see, like the Loch Ness Monster is another one where it's like we just haven't discovered it yet, even though they did scour the entire Loch Ness and didn't find anything. That's kind of disheartening, but it's like we just haven't found them yet. All right, they're out there. Bigfoot's out there. All right, Frogman, he's probably out there. He's just, that one sounds more like interdimensional. Like it does sound more like he's on a different dimensional plane, and it's not until like the moon lines up just right that he comes out and like is able to like traverse into our plane of existence. But I believe he's there. So
yeah, he's on vacation in Germany.
It's kind of like
under that bridge.
Have you read Fables?
Fables,
the comic book from Vertigo?
No, I haven't.
I think you'd dig it. They take all of like the folklores, like famous folklores and stuff like that, but they're in modern day, like New York City. And then one of their things that, but also they go back to the homelands, which is where like they all live, but then like they there's like passages into New York. So like Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf, is the sheriff of Fabletown, and so it is brilliant. It's like,
this is the one they made the video game about.
Wolf Among Us is based off of that.
Oh,
yes, and so that's what led me to read it. But like you were talking about, there's a whole. All this is because you were talking about there's doorways, so that's part of the thing where there's literally doorways like underneath a bridge that only they can see because they have glamour and they can open a door and they go back here, and like so like it sort of plays upon like what you're talking about, and it mixes. It's brilliant. It's like 23 volumes. Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable comic book if you're ever looking for like a really long read and like it just explores all of the folklore, like
Sick.
you name them and they're there.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it was Vertigo, and I think like they just redid 12 issues here recently, and it's through the Black Label. But how far away are you from Wacken?
Oh, you mean the metal festival?
Yes.
I have to look it up where exactly Wacken is.
Just go ahead and dox
Give me
yourself
a
real quick. It's
second.
okay. Just go ahead and dox yourself. Give us your address.
So it's in
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I actually live under that same bridge. The frogman let me.
You
chill
are
in
the
his
frog
car.
man.
Yeah,
Let's go.
He's
So
right
it's
behind the camera.
So it's a municipality near the town of Itzelhoe in
Schleswig-Holstein.
Yes, that's it.
That's like way north.
Okay.
That's like I mean, to give you a general idea, I'm in Bavaria. Bavaria is here. I'm like here.
Yeah.
And like it's up here.
Oh, so it's way up there.
Yeah, it's way up. Yeah.
And I know that metal is not your thing, right?
I always think it's cool. It's like, do you guys have stuff, like still have stuff where you're like, oh, I'll get into it when I grow up? Is that like stuff that you still have?
I think Jacob probably does.
Yeah, definitely so. Like metal is one of those things where I enjoy metal because Alex enjoys metal, and I like to go to metal shows with them. And every time all the shows that I've been to, which is like 2, have been great, and I love it. I dig it so much. But it's not like.
But he doesn't actively listen to metal.
Yeah, I don't go out of my way to listen to it. But if he sends me something to listen to, I listen to it most of the time. If I'm not in the middle doing something, but. It's all great. I love it. I love the music. I love what it stands for. But it's like I'm kind of in that same vein where it's like I don't go out of my way to get to it. So
yeah. No, I'm in a similar vein. Like I'm the kid on the school ground that you show metal to. Like I'm still in that kind of part of my brain. Like I have a friend, Jack. He's a comics friend of mine. He's like very much into metal, and he even has a comic that kind of deals with metal that he's working on. And I love that vibe. And of the few things of metal that I've like kind of discovered, like you guys a couple episodes ago, maybe last episode or second to last episode, you talked about Gojira. Yeah, and I'm still in the point of my brain where I'm like, hey, there's a band named Africanzola. That's cool.
That's where I was, dude. Yeah, dude.
And they're from France, not Japan.
Oh, well, that's wow. And you said they have like environmentalist themes and all that stuff. Like, that's so cool to me. Like metal is definitely something. Doom's definitely going to be my gateway drug because I love the Doom soundtrack. But it's something I definitely want to get into. But like my thing is, I listen to music only in my free time. Like because of my ADHD, I can't really listen to stuff when I'm working. So I mostly work in silence in my studio. But like when I'm just like cooking or cleaning the place, I listen to music, and like metal is definitely something I want to get to because I love the vibe. Just so cool.
Like for metal, do you gear more towards like the melody of it or the lyrics of it or like what draws you in musically?
I mean, like, if something sounds cool, I'll definitely like be there. That's like it's like if something sounds nice to me, I'm game. But I also really like it if the lyrics have like some really impactful meaning. And I know that there's like parts of metal that are all about like Vikings and Viking culture.
Amon Amarth.
That's something I know. Yeah. I got that reference. Amon Amarth.
They're great
and I
concert.
also know what's an Iron Maiden? Is that
Iron Maiden?
Like Iron Maiden?
They're that's more. I mean, that's early that's early metal, like sort of foundational. I don't consider them metal because I consider them like classic rock.
I was about
just
to
because
say,
like I sort of like
classic rock territory
because I grew up, But like yes, I mean Black Sabbath is technically metal, but like Metallica is metal, but like it's more of like modern day versus. The thing about metal is like there's so many subgenres, and it's just like you have death metal, you have black metal, you have industrial, you have math, you have deathcore, hardcore. Like it's just like it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But I mean, like I think all music is like that, though. Really.
Yeah, totally. Metallica, the guys from Fortnite. I know those guys.
Oh my god, dude! I was just about to say it's so funny. That's why I was laughing because I was like, I don't know if you can technically consider yourself metal anymore if like you're a metal band but you're in Fortnite now. But then at the same time, it's like, hey, it's a paycheck, baby. I get why they did it because I don't know. I feel like they're not hurting for money though. It's Metallica. Come on, they're the foundation of like most of rock, right?
Yeah,
I don't.
it's nice that Stranger Things discovered them, and now they're
Yeah, right.
right away.
Yeah.
What's the most widely known German musician in your guesstimation on a global scale?
Rammstein.
Okay, that I mean, some people
I know
consider
that
that
one.
metal.
Yeah.
What about the 99 balloon lady? What's her name?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She doesn't believe COVID is a thing. She
Oh,
went a little
okay. Well,
crazy.
that's the
She
thing, man.
went
I will
crazy.
say
We got a
COVID
lot of
did.
those
Yeah,
here, too.
COVID was one of those things that just like turned kind of like the everything on its head. Where it's like you have like people that you thought were like cool, and they're coming out against like vaccines, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but it was weird. It was like it opened up
Isolation is not good for a lot of people.
not just that, but it was just like it
Yeah,
opened up a part that
exactly.
we weren't supposed to
Yeah.
know about people. Like it was like a doorway where they were like, oh,
Well, I mean, I'm sure your fiance has a more technical and like real outlook on it because she has like actual probably like
there's again like so super cool to be able to
education
like
about it.
going to
like,
an area therapist is like
My
kind of cool.
perception is a lot of it like all of that stuff sort of existed, but then in like a vacuum, but then everyone being at home, I just hit the mic, everyone being at home and then having just like constant access to like, let me just check Twitter, let me just check Facebook. And then just people just are fucking losing their absolute minds.
Yeah.
And like some people thrive on being around people. The three of us are very much like, we're good with isolation. We're good with like, small groups of people.
Oh yeah.
So, and like, I'm probably more socially adapted than Jacob is, but like I don't like large groups of people, but like I think a lot of it had to do with and the older generation is very much part of the problem there, where like it's just Facebook. I don't want to go down all of that stuff, but again, it was sort of like the perception of like the perception of us to you guys. I assume that like you guys get the like extreme part of all that stuff because that's what we're fed.
Again, like the Trump stuff and kind of like COVID era stuff where it's like the loudest voices have the widest range, like kind of like they get heard more really, but it's not indicative of the entirety of the US, I would hope. But sorry, I didn't cut you off.
Sorry, go ahead.
Alex, please.
No. I do have a question, and like I have always heard because like my friend Phil did, like he took in high school we have to take a second language, and it's a joke. It's a joke, right?
Yeah.
Because like we don't pursue it. It's just like you take it for 2 years. He took German. I took French because Spanish was full. Right, those are the three things we were offered. But like I'd always heard that in to sort of tie it into like the here in the US, like are you taught and like you guys don't shy away from like the stuff that happened during World War II, right? Like it's very much because is it like something you don't talk about, or is it something that and are not?
No.
Okay.
Like you mean I think
yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Sorry to bring it up if it's a tough subject.
No. You mean the really big oopsie that our country did.
Well, yeah, because like we have a lot of history. We have a lot of dark history here.
We've got a lot of
obviously,
baggage
that a lot of people don't want to talk about. Like obviously the Native Americans were here first and we took it from them, right? And like people don't want to talk about it. We've had slavery and we've had all of these things in our country, but like people get real offended because it's like, but we're not. It's like it happened. Like you're supposed to learn from these things. And I've always heard two different things. One was like, hey, that's like just something you don't talk about. Don't walk up to a random person in Germany and be like, say, how about, hey, Auschwitz? That's you don't do that.
That's a place.
Yeah.
That's a place.
Yeah.
Or I've also heard that like you guys are very much like you're taught this and like we don't shy away from.
Here's how we got here. Here's how we don't end up in that situation. Right. Yeah. Again.
Yeah. No. I can't speak on like every part of Germany because right now there's very much, sadly, a divide happening between those two camps. but I was very transparently and very thoroughly taught everything that happened, all the brutal and violent stuff. And it's mandatory in most states of Germany to visit a concentration camp site with your history class. Like you have to go there.
Okay.
Because people want
Damn,
you
dude.
to see that stuff like firsthand and experience it. And it's often like people who are like the daughters or grandchildren of people who were actually there who do the tours and talk about all that stuff. And it's always like riddled with family anecdotes when they're talking you through it. So you really get a very personal sense of it. And, you know, I'm at least 2 generations removed from it now, maybe even 3, but like, you know, I really, really, really regretfully have some history of that stuff in my family too. Like, you know, when I say I'm 100% German, I can't deny that, like, in like some of my grandparents, they really did some genuinely fucked up shit. But it's important to talk about it and to recognize it as wrong, as incredibly, incredibly wrong, and to reflect on that. Like you can't ignore that away. Like it would be like if slavery happened until like what 80 years ago for you guys.
Yeah.
You'd still really heavily have that stuff like emphasized all the time. And I know that, you know, sometimes there are people who slack off, and like I said, sadly we have a bit of a right-wing movement in Germany right now.
Dude,
that's
it's
trying
like,
to like
it's not just you guys. Don't worry. It's like
yeah.
from what I understand about like global politics, it's kind of going everywhere right now, and I don't know why, but it's there was like a lot of talk about the UK and that kind of right-wing party losing. It's kind of like giving a little bit of hope to people that like maybe the shift is kind of like dying down a little. But hey, it's not just you guys.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say.
I think it was France.
No,
too,
you're good.
right?
You're good.
Yeah,
France,
yeah.
France is
France
no
too.
France. Wait. France is the one I'm thinking of. They just had the big election where Macron won. Sorry, world politics for some reason, but like Macron won, and it was like this. And they, Marine Le Pen, like lost bad. She lost bad. They didn't do good. So it was kind of like a, hey, you guys can shut up now for a little bit if you don't mind. Like,
Yeah. It's like, as far as I understand it, it was the European election, like because we all vote for the European Parliament, and Macron was like, okay, like you guys are really voting for like Le Pen's party, you're voting for the right-wing party. So that means I have to kind of draw the consequences for my own government from that. And in France, the government, like the parliament and the president are elected separately. So he couldn't like step down, but he was like, all right, we're having re-elections for the parliament. And I don't know why. That's the part that I don't know. But they had 2 rounds of elections. And the first round of elections, Le Pen just wiped the floor with everyone else. And then everyone else was like, those who like had given up hope and like just kind of like felt like, you know, it doesn't matter if we go to the elections. We're like, oh, fuck. If people actually vote for the right-wing people are going to have the parliament. And then they had the second round of votes. And
dude,
that's when Le Pen got like pushed to the ground.
so I don't mean you
So
were making a
dodged the
great
bullet.
point. Yeah, you're making a great point about like German hit and like you all learning from your mistakes from the past or whatever. So I didn't interrupt it, but like it was that sounds to me a lot like kind of what was happening here in 2016, and then it happened, but like Le Pen won here, and then now we're just kind of like kind of suffering from it a little bit. I don't know if you guys know this, but it wasn't great. But no, sorry, continue. Yeah, I think it is really honestly like cool in the sense that like you accept the past, and now it's like you're accepting of it, and that you're going to take that and then teach the future, like, hey guys, you know, this was a big thing that happened, we don't want it to happen again, so how like the best, like for what we were taught as kids, like the best way to make sure that thing doesn't happen
Probably
again
the biggest thing
like,
that happened in the last 400 years of the
Yeah,
Earth.
yeah, dude. But like you
Yeah,
mentioned slavery, and it's just like, damn, dude, that's still like we're still in the midst of trying to ignore that away, and it's like, guys, like
there's a lot of
we can't do it.
It's frustrating. They like to push a lot of stuff under the rug, and it's just like, you know, did you see the Watchmen TV show?
Yeah.
So that whole thing is based off of actual things.
Like the first
that were
episode
never
was
taught
like a fucking shock.
here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an actual event that happened that was never taught in history books.
It's
At
like
least
that,
it
they
was
talk
to us.
because it was Black Wall Street, right? Is what it
Yes.
was called. Yeah, and it was like this like a literal bustling black community that just a not so rad group of white people were like, hey, let's just go obliterate that town. They can't be doing successful things. And it was like, yeah. And I had never even heard of it until I saw that. And then they started talking about it in the news and everything. And once it hits NPR, like here, I assumed that, like, okay, everybody's talking about it. If NPR is talking about it, like, everybody knows about this now. So, but anyways, sorry.
And another one was, oh my gosh, I'm like drawing the blank on the movie, but the most recent movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, like all of that stuff is
The Revenant, like the Flower Moon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely not. And like the foundation of essentially the FBI, like that was their first case. And like
Men Who Stare at Goats. That was another one based off of
none of that stuff is ever taught. And like I've always liked history. And like I voluntarily took like an AP history class in high school. And it was like a focus on the Civil War, but it was like things about the Civil War that were not normally taught in just like the basic like regurgitated stuff. It was like the actual nuances of things and why things, and like, yes, it was all bad, but like you learn a little bit more of like the motivation of, you know, the South and the North and stuff like that. And it's just like, you know, I don't know why it's too many hands in the honey jar, but then it's just like, okay, well, you can't just have one person that's doing all this stuff, because then if like absolute power corrupts absolutely sort of deal where, but it's like, how do you manage that sort of, it's hard. And I understand it's hard. And like, you know, Jacob just wants to like start fresh. Let's just burn it all down, start back up. And it's like, it's not that easy.
It's an effective approach. I'm just saying,
it's not.
Like, we start all over.
Not an effective
approach. Build their own, but
No. Like with us, I remember because like one of my finals when I graduated high school was history. So I was really close with my history teacher back then. We're still friends now, actually. And he's like a super nice guy. Like, imagine like the nicest teacher you had, if you had one nice teacher. imagine like them. But like whenever talk turned to like the Third Reich stuff, he would get incredibly serious. And that's when you realize like, hey, this guy's super happy and chill and cool and nice and kind. But whenever talk turned to that, you know, the contrast between like being nice, but then like getting really serious about that topic, we realized like, hey, this isn't another, you know, fucking this caveman killed this mammoth kind of situation. This is like actual real shit that we can still talk to people from both sides in our country right now and like get the history from it. And there's still to this day there are like former Nazi members are being like put to trial to this day. Still, it's still happening. And it's, you know, it's not about like, or it's not done with people saying like, oh, you know, I regretted it, I was just, it's the scene in what was it, X-Men First Class, we just had our orders, you know, that's like your orders were the most cruel thing ever. You can't just be like, you know, well,
a lot of militaristic denials, what that is, where it's, hey, we're just following orders, buddy. Like we have that, like that, a lot of that with like Vietnam, where there was like a story on NPR recently where they were talking about the one, there was, the guy just got out of prison or something like that, or jail or something. I don't know what it was, but he was like, his whole justification for like murdering and doing some bad stuff in a whole town was like, was that like, hey, we're just following orders, buddy. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, we're just following orders. You know, this is what they told us to do. So,
and like, it's like, that's a whole thing too. Cause it's like, I understand that, because it's like, if you don't follow those orders, they'll get rid of you.
Yeah. I mean,
and someone else will do it. Right. So that like, that's the worst part of it all.
Yeah.
So anyways, do you want to turn it around to like something fun? So you said you had a web comic coming out soon.
Well, there's a couple places that Jacob wants to know. He wants you to rate, because like, you know, we have a ton of destinations in the United States, and it's like the world's the largest, you know, truck stop, whatever. I don't know if you've ever heard of Buc-ee's. We have this thing called Buc-ee's here.
I'm still saying ours is the largest, because like, oh, you're gonna add 500 square feet on yours and down in Texas, whatever.
I watched a man have a real life panic attack when I took Jacob.
It's too much. Buc-ee's is too much. I'll say it.
Consumerism overload. But he's got the world's most beautiful milk shop, which holds the Guinness record holder. Like, you didn't put any notes here, Jacob.
No, I did. I was gonna ask. So the criteria was just like, can you give me like your one, if you've ever been there, but then like just you being a resident of Germany, like your actual take on these locations, like are they cool? Are they just overblown? You know, like because I just literally just Googled like attractions of Germany, and it was based off very an American article about like these. Hey, they got these places to go.
This is fun. Okay.
I've got the world's most.
But you have to pronounce where they are, though.
Oh man, that's gonna be fun because I don't know how to say any of these. But it's the first one is the world's most beautiful milk shop, as Alex mentioned. You have a lot of like Guinness World Record holder places.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. You can just buy those.
Fair. Okay, that's true. And also, like I say a lot, but I don't know. Like I found like 5, but I don't know if that's a lot or not.
Okay.
But, okay. So
let's rate them.
We got Funds, Mokiri. Oh God, Mokiri, Dresden.
Dresden. Okay.
Yeah, it's in Dresden. Let's go with that.
There's a milk shop there. The world's most beautiful milk shop.
Yeah, that's from what I read on this article.
German Hooters. No, it's I think personally speaking, German milk overrated as fuck.
What is different about German's milk? Like what is German milk? Sorry.
The thing is, in America, personally from my experience, your milk always tastes kind of vanilla-y, like you have a vanilla flavor in there, kind of. Maybe that's just like because the German milk just tastes like water.
So how it's supposed to taste, like how it comes out of the cow.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
that's like the thing.
Yeah, we have a whole process where we like add a bunch of shit in.
like your radioactive uranium milk is way fucking better than like our milk from a cow that's happy and has seen sunlight for more than 2 hours.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like
that's the thing. So overrated.
Okay,
I have never been, but overrated.
Okay. Then we've got the Merchant's Bridge in Erfurt. I do not. Okay, how do you pronounce the A with the 2 dots over it?
It's like an E. It's like E.
Okay, so
like the E in me.
Okay, Kremerbrecken. Brecke?
Brook. There's no. Yeah.
Okay.
Kremerbrecke.
There you go.
You got it.
Yeah. I got there.
Okay.
It's like this. Apparently, it's this giant bridge. From what I read, it's like a giant bridge that stretches over. It was basically built over top of a town, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me look up a picture of this real quick.
I probably should have sent
to know this.
I mean, we probably should have sent you the list beforehand.
Oh wow, that looks cool. I've never been.
I'm gonna have to go now. Yeah,
but like, cool. It looks like something you would build out of Legos.
That's what I'm saying. Like that, I was thinking like a very Attack on Titan-esque, where it's like built over. It's just like a bridge built over top of a city, and like but
yeah. So like, I don't know if you can put up a picture of it.
Yeah, I could find a picture of it. Yeah.
And then like, if the picture is like in the final thing, this is what Frederick rates 9 out of 10, even though he's never been. Very cool.
Nailed it. Okay. I'll have to do that now. I think it's gonna be a lot of editing on my part. I've got to learn to edit, I guess. So.
Well, you've got a couple extra days this week.
Yeah, I do. Then we've got the Upside Down House. It's Cop.
I know this one.
Uberhaus. Oh, that's right. Uberhaus. Yeah, I know how to say that one. Yeah. We have one of those. It's called the Wonderworks Factory.
Oh, that doesn't count.
But it looks exactly like the Wonderworks Factory, where it's just a house built upside down, and it was
There's a lot of those in Germany. That's like it's like there's a bunch of them. Upside down house.
2 thumbs up.
What's inside of it?
I would assume just a house.
House stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a residential thing.
No. Oh no, it's like I think it's an attraction. Some people, there are some that are inhabited by actual people. I don't know how those people like go about their daily lives.
I guess like a certain point.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, like you've built a house before. You've done it 100 times, and it's just like, what if we just built a house upside down and lived in it? And I can understand how that could be like something that I was interested in doing. Like after we have hundreds of years of history. Like nobody's ever built a house upside down. Let's try it out. Yeah. So
isn't it cute? We have 100 years of history where you have like thousands of years of history.
Yeah. Dude,
oh yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing too. Like knights and castles and stuff. All the Lego stuff. That's all real. We did all that.
We don't have enough castles in the modern era. I think we need to bring it back. We need to start. I was looking at house types the other day just for no reason. I was trying to, me and my wife were talking, and I was like, I really, like, if we were going to build a house, we were trying to decide like what kind of style we would want to build in. We're nowhere near able to build a house. Okay. We're millennials in this economy. We don't have any money, but like we like to dream. But I like Victorian style houses. And I found one the other day that just like struck me. And it's like, this is the house I want to die in. And I want to haunt for the rest of my life.
Okay.
I want to haunt this house because it looks like a house that would be haunted. It looks like a house you'd get from your grandfather twice for like 2 generations ago. And he's like, yeah, I've had this house for like 200 years, and don't worry, there's a little demon that likes to walk around and like steal your underwear or something like that. But anyways, then we got the world's narrowest alley. I don't know how it's Spreerhofstrasse. Yeah, that's it. Apparently it's the world's narrowest alley. It's just like I think it's like said 30 centimeters wide or whatever. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Like,
This is going great.
I've never heard of this before. But
gosh.
Look, if you've got claustrophobia and you need shock therapy,
I do.
yeah, like go there.
There, I put it in chat.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Okay.
Spreerhofstrasse. No, I've never been. Sadly, maybe
Okay.
I have been.
It's
Maybe I
fine.
have been.
It's fine.
I don't know.
I appreciate it, but that's fine. It's okay.
What about Frankenstein's castle?
You mean Castle Frankenstein? That's like 30 minutes away from where I live.
Is it cool?
Okay.
Is it cool or is it? I feel like
it's not like the Frankenstein isn't real, but like the name Frankenstein derives from there.
Now, is that the big black church? I've seen like this super cool metal church. I think it's in Cologne, Germany.
Oh no, that's a different thing. That's a different thing. But like Castle Frankenstein is like they always do big like horror Halloween night events there.
Yeah.
But for like all of October, it's a really big thing because obviously if you've got the namesake, you just go to town.
It's like going to
Point.
It's like going to Point Pleasant and then not having Mothman everywhere. Like it's like your Frankenstein's castle. You're gonna have to have a big Halloween event. So
and apparently, like if you're an extra there, if you're a zombie or something, like you actually get some pretty good money.
Damn,
because it's like they're the business for like 1 month a year. So they just like go to town. They pay people. They pay like real authentic makeup artists and stuff. It looks scary.
Hell yeah. All right, so what are your recommendations? That was it. That was the list. But so, like, what are your recommendations? Somebody's traveling to Germany tomorrow. They need Frederick's recommendation for where they need to go in Germany.
Okay. So you will more than likely land in Frankfurt because Frankfurt, if I remember correctly, is the biggest airport in Europe. So from Frankfurt, do not go to Frankfurt.
Okay.
It's hell. It's like a GTA city. It's don't go to Frankfurt. Instead, I would recommend Aschaffenburg is pretty nice, like the town that I live in, but I would recommend Heidelberg. That's Heidel and then Berg. That's a beautiful town. Then there's Mainz, Manz. And it's 2 cities. It's Wiesbaden and Mainz. They're combined together. They're one big city, but like someone just drew a red line on the map and decided, all right, you guys are 2 cities now. That's like really beautiful. And there's like really beautiful country around there and like cool castles and stuff. I definitely recommend going there. If you're into like partying or wanting to actually see a big city, you can't do wrong with Hamburg. Can't do wrong with Berlin. And, if you want some Bavarian tradition, go to Munich. Do not go to the Oktoberfest. It's overrated as hell. It's insane. Like, that's like, especially if you're someone who has ADHD, you will die.
It's too much going on.
It's insane.
You die.
Yeah. But like Munich is like really nice. I have my longest friend still lives in Munich. It's a beautiful city with like a lot of culture and then like a lot of modern stuff in there too. But like it's always nicer to go to the countryside, like to go outside of the big cities, go to smaller towns, pick out some like nice hiking spots, that's always the best way to go.
All right, nice, dude. That's like, I'm gonna have to put up a bunch of pictures for this episode because I'm gonna show
Can
off all those
you-
places.
Can you tell me if this is a myth or if it's true in regards to Berlin? So obviously the Berlin Wall fell and
Yeah.
you had east and west.
Yes.
Is it still different colored light bulbs that can differentiate where it used to be different?
Some places out of cultural reason, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like there are like history clubs and all that stuff who maintain that. They pay for that. It's more like for tours when like tourists go there and they just want to see the difference. They will
Okay.
point that out. But city regulation, like Germany is a very bureaucratic state. So like regulations and stuff are crazy. So you have to kind of like unite that at some point. So it's
Okay.
mostly united, but there are some where you can just see
But it's more for tourism.
for show. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've had you for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, sorry.
here,
We should have
so-
asked, like, do you need to go or anything? Or like,
No.
No, it's cool. It's all good.
Outside of obviously the Polar Destroyer cover,
Which Jacob will edit again
yeah,
here.
it's gonna be there. Yeah, it's gonna be. Don't trust me.
It's
I'm not
super
gonna get
dope.
lazy. It's definitely gonna get.
He's got a lot of work.
Yeah.
What's in the pipeline? What's coming? Anything you want to announce? Where can people find you? All those things.
You know, you can find me everywhere I'm on x.com / Frederick Hornung, just together. That's
Yep.
HORNUNG. And
Don't worry,
on
I got the
Instagram.
handle right here. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah,
I got it right
exactly. And the Polar Destroyer cover.
Yep. It's still on the screen. I haven't taken it down yet.
And no, I've got a short story, like I said, coming out with Boom Studios, coming out August 28th in their Hello Darkness issue 2. I've got a page in Comics Are Dying, the comic, coming out very soon. That's written by Lewis Southard. That's like an anthology where he got 100 artists together to each draw a page where we sum up, or well, I did 1/100th of that comic, but where it sums up the history of Western comics. That's a very, very cool project to be a part of with a lot of friends. Then I've got, I'm as we're this episode's coming out, I'll be putting the finishing touches on Pulp Traps that I'm doing with Jose Cardenas, who's a writer and great friend, who I'm doing this short horror collection with. It's 4 horror short stories, and that will launch on Kickstarter soon. And, you know, Seconds to Midnight, my horror anthology webcomic, comes out every 13th of the month on my socials and will be on my website as well when it goes back up. And yeah, Polar Destroyer cover. And I have a creator-owned comic that comes out next summer that will
Okay.
be folklore related.
Have you ever thought about taking your webcomic and making it into like a full-fledged like collection?
There are plans.
I do think,
There
because
are
I know you were
plans.
talking about webcomics earlier, and it's like, they are a very handy resource, though, especially getting your name out of there. If I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of like, I think, okay, I might be speaking out of my ass here, but like Solo Leveling was one I remember in particular that started out as like a webtoons comic where, and I feel like it is a good resource to have, especially for getting exposure or whatever. But they took that one and like it's become like it's a whole phenomenon now. Like people love like Solo Leveling. Like it's a good little manga for sure. But it's like I didn't want to like, even though you say it's like a web comic, like I think it's fucking dope. You know, hell, any way you can get the content out
Thank
there
you.
is for sure. Like, you know, get it out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, if you have a comic idea and you want to write it or draw it, then team up with someone who will write or draw it or do it yourself and just post it on social media. Because social media, the big thing about social media is it doesn't matter how many people see it, it matters who sees it.
Correct.
And that's like the big lesson that I've learned. Like, I don't care about social media numbers. That's like fucking monopoly money to me.
Same.
I care about who reads it and that those people have the same fun that I had drawing it.
Mine is, I hope that someone buys it.
That too. Buy the Polar Destroyer or support the Polar Destroyer issue 2 Kickstarter campaign when it launches.
There you go.
Endorsed by the
Damn
German
you.
government speaking through me.
Hell, dude, that's a high. I mean, shit. We don't even have to do an ad read for this at all now. Like this is we've got it here. We're just gonna isolate this piece. We're good to go, and it's like that's it.
Yeah.
We got it. So
Well, we when you get all of your finishing touches, we can have you back on when you're getting ready
Dude,
to do your
absolutely.
thing next summer.
I'd love to be back. This has been so much fun.
I'm saying, man, it's been a great time. Like it's a good time for sure.
Hell yeah.
Any parting words?
Any parting words? Write or draw or create the comic that you want to do. Nazis are bad. Wolfenstein rules. And yeah, no, it's been so much fun. And I want to say thank you to both you guys for having me on. It's been incredible.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.